House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer saying the House will return Friday to hold a vote on what ends up coming out of the Senate, sending what could be this landmark piece of legislation to the president's desk. Joining me now with more is Democratic Congressman Mark Pocan of Wisconsin. Congressman, thanks for joining us on this Sunday afternoon. We appreciate it. Any hiccups that you foresee when it comes to the passage of this legislation in the House when you come back to D.C. to vote on a Friday?
Thanks for having me on, Yasmin. So let me just say this. This is a big deal, this bill. This is really much of what we tried to get done last fall in the Build Back Better agenda. This is really focused on trying to reduce costs for the American people. This is putting people over politics, and we're watching the Republicans play politics in the Senate. They voted to help strip a part that doesn't allow us to cap insulin for the American people. But this bill will reduce costs for people, their energy costs, their healthcare costs, as well as address things like climate change and other really important matters. So I'm thinking that we're very excited to have the bill up to get it done on Friday. It looks like is when we're going to take this up in the House. We're just waiting for the Senate to finish their vote-a-rama. And I think you're going to see this have a really strong support from Democrats coming into the vote on Friday.
When you take a look at this legislation between climate, taxes, health care as well, what part of this legislation do you think is going to have the most impact on the folks that you're representing?
I think the most direct impact will be people saving money. We've got global inflation, and at least people in the United States will start to be able to save some money on things like energy costs and healthcare. But the provision to allow us to be able to negotiate for prescription drugs through Medicare is a huge savings, and capping how much out of pocket seniors are going to pay will have a real immediate effect on a lot of seniors. And it's something that we've tried to get done for a long time, and we're glad it's in here. But also climate change. I mean, finally, we're looking at doing major efforts that not only are going to create jobs, but reduce our emissions by 40% by 2030. That's a huge deal. So there is a lot of good in this bill for virtually everyone, and it's really being paid for by the wealthiest in this country, companies who found ways to avoid paying taxes, people who have interesting ways that they pay taxes, which is way less than most of my constituents. So, I think this is an important piece of legislation, and Republicans who vote against this to help stem the effects of inflation are really going to have something to answer for back home.
How are you going to turn this into votes, Congressman, come November?
I think that the fact that we can now show that we're going to reduce the cost of prescription drugs, especially for seniors on Medicare, the fact that we can reduce people's energy costs, the fact that we're continuing what we passed earlier in the rescue plan, the Rescue Act, that allowed people to be able to save money and have access to health care. I mean, those are all things that people will feel very quickly. And I think, those are real benefits for the average person who's just trying to get by every day. And inflation worldwide has been tough. But if we have some ways to address the United States through this bill, at least we're trying to do something.
You mentioned this earlier. You talked specifically about the cap on prescription drugs as well. Kind of want to get your reaction here to Republican senators killing this $35 cap on insulin, with just 7 Republicans supporting that amendment. What do you make of it?
Yeah, my Senator Ron Johnson voted for Big Pharma over his constituents, like many Republicans did. Look, it was almost 100 years ago that insulin was first patented, and it was done and sold for $1 to each of the 3 people who invented it, because they wanted to have it out there for the American people to have. And here we are almost 100 years later paying exorbitant fees for something that a lot of people have to survive. It was the right thing to try to cap it. Unfortunately, the vast majority of Republicans, including Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin, decided to side with Big Pharma rather than their constituents.
All right, Congressman, we thank you. We're going to be watching Washington, I'm sure, as you are, and of course over the next couple of days or so, as this legislation, if it gets through the Senate, moves back to the House. For now, we thank you.